Welcome to Amina TV Network, your premier source for insightful news and captivating stories from Liberia and the global world. Stay informed with our comprehensive coverage, bringing you the stories that matter most and connecting you to the heart of Liberia and beyond. This is Amina TV Network. Inform, inspire, and engage. Welcome, everyone, to a brand new journey in media. A fresh voice in the world of news and storytelling. We are thrilled to introduce you to Amina TV Network, your new premier destination for insightful news, in-depth analysis, and truly captivating stories, not just from the heart of Liberia, but from across the globe. In today's fast
Under the leadership of Captain Ibrahim Traore and his government, Burkina Faso is a country that is undergoing massive transformation with many construction and development projects across the entire country. These projects aim to transform Burkina Faso into one of the most developed countries in Africa and improve the living standards of many Burkinabe people, both in urban and rural areas. In today's video, therefore, we are going to cover the 20 mega development projects that will massively transform the country under the leadership of Captain Ibrahim Traore. Number 20, the Faso Mebo Development Project. The Faso Mebo Development Project is a massive government-led urban renewal, civic, and development initiative across major cities in Burkina Faso. Spearheaded by the President of Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traore, the project aims to transform Burkina Faso cities through improved sanitation, infrastructure, and citizen participation. The project has created jobs for thousands of Burkinabe youths, as the project is being completely done by youths and professionals from Burkina Faso. Number 19, the Ouagadougou-Bobo-Dioulasso Highway Project. The Ouagadougou-Bobo-Dioulasso Highway Project is one of the most strategic infrastructure initiatives in Burkina Faso, aimed at modernizing the country's busiest transport corridor, linking the capital Ouagadougou to the economic capital Bobo-Dioulasso. Upon completion, the project is expected to significantly boost trade, agriculture, and industrial logistics, hence facilitating regional commerce with the neighboring countries such as Ivory Coast and Mali. Number 18, rebranding of the French Total Energies to Baka Energies. In a bid to move away from the French colonial chains, all Total Energies assets in Burkina Faso were officially acquired and rebranded to Baka Energies. The takeover was done by Coris Investment Group, a Burkinabe investment holding led by businessman Idrissa Nassa on 8th of September 2025 and completed on 5th December 2025. The Baka Energies is now a 100% Burkinabe-owned company with nearly 200 service stations across Burkina Faso, cementing Burkina Faso's energy sovereignty. Number 17, Burkina Faso new toll stations. as part of a broader reform to strengthen its road infrastructure and revenue base for modernization and development. The government of Burkina Faso has begun rolling out new toll stations across major roads in the country. The toll stations are equipped with digital and automated systems to improve collection transparency, traffic flow, and security while reducing fraud. These moves will allow the government to be self-sustainable in developing and modernizing road infrastructure across the country. Number 16, the Burkina Faso Sotraco Modern Buses Project. The Burkina Faso Sotraco Modern Buses Project is a massive government initiative to modernize and expand public transport services, especially in Ouagadougou and other major cities in Burkina Faso. Through the project, the government has acquired hundreds of new modern buses, with the first 115 delivered in August 2025. The project is financed by the government of Burkina Faso with support from the Vista Bank Burkina at a cost of about 44.8 billion CFA francs. Number 15, Rural Agriculture Revolution. The president of Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traore, has significantly boosted Burkina Faso's agricultural and livestock sectors by mobilizing and investing over 104 billion CFA francs in equipment, input, and support for the 2025-2026 agro-pastoral campaign. This move is aimed at strengthening food production, rural mechanization, and overall food self-sufficiency. Through the project, the president provided tractors, motor pumps, tilling equipment, seeds, veterinary vaccines, and other agricultural and fishing equipment. The project is part of a broader government plan to modernize the agricultural sector, reduce dependence on imports, and empower rural communities. Number 14, the Doro Irrigation Scheme Project. The Doro Irrigation Scheme Project is a major agricultural infrastructure initiative in Burkina Faso aimed at enhancing food sovereignty and rural resilience. The project covers an irrigated perimeter of about 865 hectares of land that is being fed by the Kirsi Dam, with the modern infrastructure including pumping stations, primary and secondary canals, drainage systems, storage and drying facilities, and access roads. This project will significantly boost local agricultural output and offer all year-round farming opportunities to hundreds of Burkinabe farmers. Number 13, RN4 Road Expansion and Modernization Project. The Burkina Faso RN4 Expansion and Modernization Project is a major national infrastructure effort to widen, upgrade, and modernize the RN4 route, which is a key artery that links the capital Ouagadougou to the eastern suburbs, hence improving traffic flow, safety, and urban mobility. The project will expand the RN4 road to a dual carriageway, upgrade the access road to the Thomas Sankara University, and develop connected secondary roads, pedestrians, and cycling infrastructure. Number 12, the Samendeni Fish Rearing Project. The Samendeni Fish Rearing Project is an innovative aquaculture initiative that is being carried out on the Samendeni Dam, designed to boost local fish production, strengthen food security, and reduce dependence on imports by developing modern fish farming using floating fish cages. This project is one of the presidential initiatives under the Offensive Agropastoral Plan that aims to produce thousands of tons of fish annually, create economic opportunities for local cooperatives and rural youths. Number 11, rehabilitation of the Burkina Faso Cotton Manufacturing Company, Sofacob. The Burkina Faso Cotton Manufacturing Company, otherwise known as Sofacob, is a Burkinabe industrial enterprise established in 2016 to transform locally grown fiber into hydrophilic cotton products for medical and general use, hence reducing dependence on imports and adding value within the national cotton sector. The company faced operational challenges leading to its temporary closure before Ibrahim Traore became the president. In 2025, the company restarted its full production with the support from the government, producing multiple grades of cotton for hospitals, pharmacies, and retail markets. Number 10, the SN Brafaso Rehabilitation Project. The SN Brafaso is a state majority-owned industrial brewery and beverages plant.
Development partners that there needs to be an opportunity, there needs to be options for flexible funding to continue some of the work that had started, some of the work that really, these are sort of basic necessities, right? So people, these 500,000 people whom we would have provided access to clean drinking water will now no longer have that access.
And what do those communities say? Presumably they knew that aid was coming, that there were projects coming to help them that have been canceled, no longer happening. So when they find out, what do they say to you?
These communities are very remote, right? So for them, they have found ways to sort of cope, and they have found ways not to sort of not having access. So for them it's a huge
Bamako, where a new alliance is being celebrated in the Sahel by the 3 junta leaders. People are watching and wondering what happens after the honeymoon.
Russian investigators say a senior military commander has been killed in a suspected car bomb attack in Moscow. Lieutenant General Fanil Sarvarov died when his vehicle exploded in the capital's Yasenevo district. Images released by authorities show the wreckage of his car as forensic teams searched the blast site for evidence. He was the head of the Russian Army's Operational Training Directorate. Several other Russian military officials have been targeted and killed since Russia invaded Ukraine. The deputy head of the Russian Navy, that is Major General Mikhail Gudkov, was killed in a Ukrainian missile attack in July 2025. A few months earlier, a deputy of Russia's general staff, General Yaroslav Moskalik, died in a car bombing near Moscow. And in December last year, Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov was assassinated in a bomb attack in the Russian capital. Marina Moran is a military analyst at the Defense Studies Department at King's College London. She says the killing of General Safarov was a targeted assassination that sends a message to military leaders.
This is not somebody who is on the battlefield and who has been killed in action. He was in Moscow, same as with General Kirillov last year or General Moskalik. So it is a different kind of operation. Presumably, the Ukrainian security services, the SBU, would be capable of carrying out such operation, and they would probably be also interested in eliminating high-profile military personnel in Russia, because the general was very important for operational training. He was the head of the operational training directorate of the general staff, and he had combat experience. He has participated in operational planning in Syria in 2015 and 2016 before becoming the head of the operational training department. So he's quite a key figure within the Russian Ministry of Defense. Somebody who has been in the post for the past 9 years, it will not be easy to replace him seamlessly. That is the first one. The second one, it sends a message to other generals, and most notably the Chief of General Staff, General Gerasimov. And this is something that has been discussed last year when General Kirillov was killed, that this is a direct message to the rest of the generals and specifically to the top of the Russian military brass to create fear, because this is an assassination. This is not something like killed on the battlefield, killed in action.
Thailand and Cambodia have agreed to meet this week to work toward a new ceasefire after the previous agreement collapsed 2 weeks ago. The announcement follows the first in-person meeting of the country's foreign ministers in Kuala Lumpur alongside other ministers from the ASEAN regional bloc. Malaysia's Foreign Minister Mohammed Hassan says the bloc must take all necessary actions to maintain regional peace. The talks in the Malaysian capital are part of a renewed diplomatic effort to end the border conflict. Fighting has killed at least 60 people and displaced around 800,000. The two countries accuse each other of violating a ceasefire agreement they signed in October. Thailand's foreign minister says his country will not be pressured into agreeing to a ceasefire.
I've heard from many sources that the Cambodian side has been telling everyone that they're ready for a unconditional ceasefire. But we have never been told about that. We went to Chinese, United States, the EU, and many countries asked, what is Thailand? Why isn't Thailand accepting this? We were never proposed, there was never a proposal directly sent to us. So our assumption, our conclusion is that this is a way of putting international pressure on Thailand. And, if you really want a ceasefire, and this is the point I made, and the meeting agreed that a ceasefire cannot come by way of a declaration. You declare ceasefire tonight. Will that ceasefire be respected? Right. So you need time to discuss the details of the ceasefire.
Yi Sun Oh is a principal advisor at the Pacific Research Center of Malaysia. He says Thailand and Cambodia are under immense pressure to settle the dispute.
I think some form of collective pressure from the fellow ASEAN member states, member countries, ASEAN neighbors would indeed be exercised on both the Cambodian and the Thai foreign ministers. And of course, looming large at the background would be the United States. Whether it is employing a carrot or a stick, I think that remains to be seen. But I think all the rest of us in ASEAN, as well as the United States, are very eager to see a resumption of the ceasefire between Thailand and Cambodia. China is equally eager to see the two sides not descending further into armed conflicts. China hosted not so long ago the king of Thailand, and on the other hand, of course, China is very close to the ruling family of Cambodia. So it is also not in the interest of China to see these two close regional friends to be engaged in armed conflicts against one another. So, of course, I think from the Cambodian perspective, they would try to lean on China to see whether they could gain more advantage. But I think at the end of the day, China is as eager as ASEAN and the United States to see these two sides settle their differences rather peacefully or at least temporarily.
It's been nearly a month since floodwaters swept across Indonesia's island of Sumatra, and many communities still have nowhere to shelter. More than 1,000 people were killed and 186 are missing. Environmental groups have highlighted the role of deforestation in worsening those floods. Jessica Washington reports now from Aceh province.
This is what remains of the village of Gudombak. Almost a month after the floods hit, people are still sleeping under scrap plastic sheets. There's no electricity. People bathe in dirty floodwater.
Many are sick. Some have diarrhea, some have stomach aches, some feel dizzy, some are vomiting. Many of the sick are children or elderly.
The Indonesian government has so far resisted calls to declare a national disaster and to accept foreign aid. Around Aceh, the worst affected province, people have begun putting up white flags. It's a call for help to Jakarta and to the world.
The community raised this white flag in protest because they did not receive enough aid. We are still in dire need of clean water and medicine.
Environmental groups have highlighted how deforestation for palm oil, timber and mining exacerbated the impact of the floods. Groups like Greenpeace are calling for a massive reforestation effort and greater environmental protections. Indonesia's forestry ministry acknowledges poor forest management exacerbated the disaster despite continuing to support massive deforestation for ongoing government projects. In Aceh Tamiang, massive heaps of timber encircled this mosque after the disaster pushed downstream by floodwaters. The logs and muddy floodwaters destroyed Tarmizi's home.
The logs came from upstream. People cleared land for plantations there, and all the trees were cut down.
His village has been destroyed, his home and all his possessions. Like many here, he says he has nothing left and nowhere to go. Jessica Washington, Al Jazeera, Aceh, Indonesia.
A small Indonesian island has won the right to take a Swiss cement giant to court in a landmark climate case. A Swiss court agreed to hear the complaint against Holcim Limited brought by 4 residents of Perry Island. Holcim operated cement plants in Indonesia until 2019. The residents want the firm to help to pay to protect the island from the threat of rising sea levels. The case is part of a global push to hold major companies accountable for climate change. Perry Island is a small, low-lying island in Indonesia known for its beaches of white sand. It faces extreme threats from climate change, with rising sea levels causing flooding and significant loss of land. Mali is hosting a summit of the Alliance of Sahel States. Leaders from Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger are meeting to improve security and economic coordination after breaking away from the regional body ECOWAS. Nicholas Hawk reports now from Mali's capital, Bamako.
Beneath Bamako's Peace Monument, a Sunday tradition. Newlyweds step into the frame. They pose to remember their union, a moment meant to last forever. It's a promise that seems easy to keep at the beginning. For now, their alliance is met with hope and encouragement. But unions rarely survive on love alone. What follows is negotiation and compromise. Across the river, behind closed doors, the leaders of Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso are gathering for a summit to formalize the Alliance of the Sahel States, a union born less out of affection, more out of anger. The three military-led states walked out on their former partner, the regional 15-country body ECOWAS, after it imposed punishing sanctions following a wave of coups. The Sahel countries accused ECOWAS of betrayal. Now this new alliance is being framed as a fresh start, a partnership meant to deliver what the old one could not, like a new wedding.
For now, it's time to celebrate a new alliance in the Sahel. But like in politics or in marriage, over time, disagreement can turn to resentment, and that's when the small prints matter.
And so cabinet ministers write new vows, a common defense force to fight common enemies, a shared Russian partner, a joint investment bank, and a new television channel to speak from one voice.
It is a marriage of reason when you have 15 household members. Cohabiting becomes cohabitation. It's not easy, but with 3, now I can say it becomes much more interesting. There are many more similarities. There is much more shared perspective. And above all, there is mutual trust, and we can move faster.
A swift union forged in uncertainty, held together by the hope of peace and unity. Nicholas Hawk, Al Jazeera, Bamako.
The war in Sudan has shifted to the Kordofan region after the paramilitary rapid support forces seized control of the country's Darfur state. Fighting between the RSF and the Sudanese armed forces has killed at least 16 people in Kordofan in the past week. A UN report says at least 1,600 people, mainly women and children, are arriving in nearby White Nile state after fleeing the violence in western Kordofan. The conflict in Sudan has killed more than 100,000 people and displaced about 14 million since 2023. Israeli forces are demolishing a residential building in occupied East Jerusalem. Israeli settlers attacked Palestinians who were forced out of the building. Around 100 people have been living there. According to the Jerusalem governorate, Israeli forces have carried out approximately 370 demolitions and land leveling operations in East Jerusalem just this year. Gaza City is home to some of the Middle East's oldest cultural heritage sites. Among its notable landmarks is the Great Omari Mosque. Its origins date back more than 2,000 years. It was destroyed in an Israeli strike in December 2023. Hatem Hania, the mosque's administrator, explains its significance and history to the people of Gaza.
The site of the Grand Omari Mosque has undergone 6 distinct historical phases. Originally, the site served as a pagan temple during the era of the Hyksos conflicts with the pharaohs of ancient Egypt. In the Byzantine period, a Christian church was constructed on the same site. With the arrival of Islam, the building was converted into a mosque. A pivotal moment occurred when Caliph Omar ibn al-Khattab passed through Gaza and established the Covenant of Umar with Patriarch Sophronius, shaping the city's religious coexistence and governance. During the Crusades, the site was once again transformed into a church. Following the defeat of the Crusaders in the Mamluk and Ottoman eras, it was restored to its function as a mosque, a role it continues to serve today. The people of Gaza take pride in this mosque and venerate it, and it truly is worthy of veneration. Regretfully, the Grand Omari Mosque was greatly damaged in this war, in a manner never expected by any Muslim. The Omari Mosque is the beacon of Palestine after the blessed Al-Aqsa Mosque. We used to consider it as Al-Aqsa Mosque. They left us no part to carry out our religious rituals. However, by the grace of God, we are adamant to hold steadfast to our ground. We will never budge. We will not abandon this mosque or any other mosque. We will not give our enemies any chance to bring us to our knees. We will stay, God willing.
Still ahead here on Al Jazeera, the U.S. sets its sights on another oil tanker near Venezuela, the latest move in Washington's campaign of pressure on President Nicolas Maduro.
The human cost of war.
In any war, civilians are not the main target, but in Bosnia, they were the main target. He could have taken 7,000 Muslim men prisoner, but yet he chose to kill those people
and the historic trials that led to the founding of the International Criminal Court.
There was never an expectation that presidents and leaders would be arrested.
Srebrenica, genocide on trial on Al Jazeera.
A showcase of the best documentary films from across the network on Al Jazeera.
So Turkish.
Go Turkish.
So Turkish. Go Turkish.
You're watching Al Jazeera. A reminder of our top stories this hour. A Russian general has been killed by a car bomb in Moscow. Lieutenant General Fenil Sarvarov was the head of the Army's Operational Training Directorate. Thailand and Cambodia have agreed to meet this week to work toward a new ceasefire after a previous agreement collapsed 2 weeks ago. The announcement follows the first in-person meeting of the country's foreign ministers in Kuala Lumpur, alongside other foreign ministers from the ASEAN regional bloc. Well, dire living conditions are forcing thousands of Rohingya Muslims to flee Myanmar and overcrowded refugee camps in Bangladesh. The United Nations says more than 5,300 attempted dangerous sea crossings in 2025, with women and children making up more than 2/3. At least 600 are reported dead or missing as violence in Myanmar's Rakhine state and U.S. aid cuts worsen conditions. Until recently, the U.S. was the largest donor supporting Rohingya refugees, contributing nearly $300 million last year, almost half of all funding. The Trump administration drastically cut humanitarian funding this year. Aid groups are warning that without urgent support, food rations will continue to be further cut, putting 1 million people in danger. Tanveer Chowdhury reports from the refugee camp in Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh.
In the world's largest refugee camp in Cox's Bazar, desperation is pushing thousands of Rohingya, many of them children, onto the open sea. With shrinking aid, no jobs, and no safe return to Myanmar, dangerous boat journeys have become the last attempt at a future. One of them was 14-year-old Nur Fayaz. His father is sick and he has 6 younger siblings. With no way to earn inside the camp, his family gave him everything they had so he could try to reach Malaysia last October and support them. A deadly journey that almost cost him his life.
They took us by boat from Teknaf and kept us at sea for a whole day. When boats started searching for us, the smugglers turned back. Near the shore, they ordered us to jump into the water. We swam for several minutes. Another group of traffickers then picked us up and demanded ransom for our families before releasing us.
But not everyone survived these crossings. Abul Bashar believed he was giving his daughter and 5-year-old grandson a chance at a better life. His son-in-law had reached Malaysia years earlier and begged him to send them so the family could reunite. 3 months ago, Abul spent nearly $3,000, everything he had. They never arrived.
My son-in-law contacted a human smuggler agent to take my daughter and grandson to Malaysia by boat. During the journey, they were moved to a smaller vessel near the Malaysian coastline, which capsized. Most people on board died, including my daughter and grandson.
Despite the risk, many Rohingya families are still boarding flimsy boats, fleeing violence in Myanmar and worsening condition in Bangladesh's refugee camp. This perilous sea journey are claiming more life than ever, yet for many it remains their only hope to seek better life in Southeast Asia. Community leaders say people no longer see a future on land, so they risk their lives at sea.
When people are homeless, hopeless, and have no future, they look for a better life. After 9 years, the international community has failed to solve this crisis, so people keep risking dangerous journeys.
For families like Abuls and Noors, the sea is both a hope and a heartbreak. And as despair deepens, more Rohingya will continue climbing onto overloaded boats, chasing a distant dream and the chance to simply survive. Tanvir Chaudhary, Al Jazeera, Cox's Bazar, Bangladesh.
Nushat Jabin is the Bangladesh manager for Christian Aid. She explains how the humanitarian organization has been impacted by funding cuts.
This project was for 5 years, and over these 5 years, we were going to provide direct access to clean drinking water to over 500,000 people. We were supposed to provide access to sanitation, basic sanitation services to over 500,000 people. And giving the sort of overall population of that area, of the Cox's Bazar and the Hill Tracts region, we would have sort of created like stronger disaster risk reduction capacities that would help people living in that region sort of because these areas are very vulnerable to natural disasters. So they'd be better able to sort of tackle these natural disasters. Funding has been completely terminated. This hasn't been reduced. So what we had set out to do, it's completely now fallen through the cracks. And the people living in those areas are the ones who are taking a direct hit, actually, with the funding cut.
The U.S. Coast Guard is pursuing a third oil tanker that's reportedly sailing under a Panamanian flag in international waters near Venezuela. U.S. officials describe the Bella 1 as part of a so-called shadow fleet used to evade sanctions. 2 other tankers have been seized in recent weeks after President Trump announced a blockade on sanctioned ships entering or leaving the country. Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro has condemned the U.S. actions as international piracy. Leaders across Latin America have given a mixed reaction to the U.S. campaign against Venezuela. Teresa Bo reports from Buenos Aires. Al Jazeera has been trying to report from inside Venezuela, but like most foreign media, Al Jazeera has not been allowed inside the country.
No to war and yes to peace, sings Venezuela's President Nicolás Maduro on national television. The message is now written on caps his followers are wearing to show their support as the United States continues to ramp up the pressure on Venezuela.
Doubting to defend our Venezuelan land, it's treason. Doubting to defend our mineral riches, that's treason. Doubting to defend our sovereignty and our right to peace, treason. Doubting to repudiate the mafia that wants to invade Venezuela and to take our riches, it's treason.
All this as the United States continues to seize oil tankers entering and leaving Venezuela. The U.S. says they are part of the so-called shadow fleet, trading Venezuelan oil on illicit markets. Maduro accuses the United States of piracy and theft and published these AI-generated pictures on social media. He says he will raise the issue at the UN Security Council. The standoff between the United States and Venezuela has polarized the region. Argentina's President Javier Milei says he welcomes U.S. pressure on Maduro, but Brazil's President Lula da Silva says diplomacy is the only way out.
An armed intervention in Venezuela would be a humanitarian catastrophe for the hemisphere and a dangerous precedent for the world.
The blockade means millions of dollars in losses for a country where oil represents 90% of revenues. It will hit the government hard, but the population will pay the price as well. As the pressure continues, Nicolás Maduro wants to send a message of strength and resistance to the Venezuelan people. But everyone is concerned about what the Trump administration will do next. Teresa Bo, Al Jazeera.
One of the 2 men accused of Australia's Bondi Beach mass shooting has appeared in court for the first time by video link. Naveed Akram faces 59 offenses, including 15 counts of murder and 1 of terrorism. The court heard the 24-year-old and his father, who was shot dead by police, underwent firearms training in Australia. Australia's Prime Minister has said he feels the weight of responsibility for the attack. On Sunday, Anthony Albanese was booed as he arrived at a vigil honoring the 15 people killed at a Jewish celebration at Bondi Beach just 8 days ago.
Emotions were raw, and a lot of people in the community are hurting and angry. And some of that anger was directed towards me, and I understand that. As Prime Minister, I feel the weight of responsibility for an atrocity that happened whilst I'm Prime Minister. And I'm sorry for what the Jewish community and our nation as a whole has experienced. The government will work every day to protect Jewish Australians, to protect the fundamental right as Australians that they have to be proud of who they are, to practice their faith, to educate their children, and to engage in Australian society in the fullest way possible.
That's it for me, Scott McLean. Inside Story, we'll look at the political tension and unrest in Bangladesh following the assassination of a student leader from last year's uprising, the one that ousted Sheikh Hasina.
Welcome to Amina TV Network, your premier source for insightful news and captivating stories from Liberia and the global world. Stay informed with our comprehensive coverage, bringing you the stories that matter most and connecting you to the heart of Liberia and beyond. This is Amina TV Network. Inform, inspire, and engage. Welcome, everyone, to a brand new journey in media, a fresh voice in the world of news and storytelling. We are thrilled to introduce you to Amina TV Network, your new premier destination for insightful news, in-depth analysis, and truly captivating stories, not just from the heart of Liberia, but from across the globe in today's fast